Good morning, everyone. So this is a webinar. So unfortunately, we cannot see the participants, but the participants can see us, can see the panelists and our the screen share that we have on right now. And for anyone who's logging on, who's new to the SBDC, we have plenty of information at on our website at sbdc.calpoly.edu. And you can also email us directly at slosbdc@gmail.com. So we'll wait a few more minutes and then we'll start. Wait till 8:33. So I do, while people are logging on, I will share a quick story with you, Cara. So a good friend who's a sailor could not find his plumbing needs for his boat at the one and only store that we have for sailing materials in Slough. And he popped into Farm Supply, I think yesterday or the day before. And lo and behold, he found exactly what he needed.
Hey!
So that's my story for today.
I love it. Well, you know, it's funny because it must have been someone different, because I believe it was last week we had someone with a boat that was looking for some, you know, special product as well. And we had what they needed, but not the complete set. So then I told them to go to Giannini's Marine Service in Morro Bay. They're old family friend of ours that operate it still. Because you're right, there's only a couple places. So that's great. I mean, you never know what you're going to find at Farm Supply, I tell you. I'm still surprised when I walk out to our floor. I'm like, I didn't know we had that. And I've, you know, been here only 24 years. So yeah, it's fun. We have all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Okay, so it's 8:33. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Coffee and Conversation. And we have a phenomenal guest here this morning, Cara Cyre. Thank you so much for being with us and making the time. Cara is the president and CEO of Farm Supply, a very iconic brand here on the Central Coast that we all love dearly. And that's been on the Central Coast for many years. I want to say probably about 75 years or so.
70, yeah.
70, okay.
70.
It's incredible. So Cara, I'm going to give a little bit of background information about you, but part of this interview process is to learn more directly from you.
Yeah.
So you graduated from Cal Poly.
I did.
And your first job was pretty much straight at Farm Supply. That was where you started your career as in marketing and communications.
Yes.
Your role evolved over time. You were there for you had been there for 20 years. And when Jim Brabeck stepped down, you were the selected CEO to take over Farm Supply. So you have held that role since 2017.
Yes.
It's been 3 years.
Yes.
So, well, let's go back to the start. So you graduated, what type of degree did you graduate with from Cal Poly?
So my degree at Cal Poly was ag science with a minor in ag business and ag comm. So at that time, you would be looking to become a high school agriculture teacher, you know, do something in ag communications or international ag. I would say that were the three emphasis. Now, actually, Cal Poly, since I graduated so many years ago, they actually have branched out and have an ag communications degree separately, which Farm Supply's brilliant marketing coordinator is a graduate of that program. And it just completely shows the hands-on learning, learn by doing that happens at Cal Poly, because all of our marketing is done in-house now. So yeah.
That's incredible. So tell us the story. Tell us how your role evolved through Farm Supply. So when you first started there, did you have any idea that this was going to be your lifetime career path?
No.
What were your
Not
goals?
at all. Well, let me, you know, a lot of people heard this story, but let me take you back to when I was a very young girl, Judy. And so when I, starting as early as I can remember, a couple years old, this job's really a labor of love for me. And I feel very grateful to be in this position. This is not where I saw myself at all. And it's just been an amazing ride. My grandparents were born and raised in this community, hardworking Portuguese family. My grandfather's the one one who gave me my love for agriculture. And when I was a young girl, I would come to Farm Supply with him on the weekends, and we would pick up supplies to go to the ranch to, work with his cattle or whatever it might be. So as a young person, I really loved the way people treated me when I came to Farm Supply. And I think, all of us have this experience of sometimes adults don't have time for us when we're kids, but this place was really special. So for some reason, this is always a place that I wanted to work. I was gone for a year after high school with the FFA, and when I came back, my parents said, "You need a job outside of family business." So I thought, I'm gonna work at Farm Supply, and Jim Brabeck gave me this amazing opportunity. I wasn't sure my entire career would be here, but I'm so grateful that it has been. What had happened was I thought when I graduated from Cal Poly that maybe I'd have to move out of the area, right? I would have the job of my dreams, but still having 3 grandparents at that time and other family, I really didn't want to leave the area. So win-win, ended up getting the job of my dreams without even, predicting that. And I got to stay on the Central Coast where I'm, 4th generation, resident of the Central Coast. So when I came to Farm Supply, I worked on our sales floor. I was on the 5-year plan at Cal Poly. And so I worked on our sales floor for 5 years, and Jim and our CFO at the time, Karen Ellsworth, asked what I wanted to do. And I really wasn't sure. They knew I had a passion for farm supply, so that's really all that they cared about, and they could teach me everything else. So that's when they established a marketing coordinator position. One of our managers was also doing the marketing at the time. So for 13 years, I was in charge of Farm Supply's marketing and PR, which I loved. Really great learning curve for me. Worked with a couple phenomenal local ad agencies. And so now I really have a passion, for marketing and selling.
The marketing piece is something you did learn on the job, because that's not necessarily something you trained for at school. That's
No.
not the degree you came out of Cal Poly with. So you trained on the job. Yeah.
Definitely. So I had a lot of great mentors along the way, a lot of, trial and error. And, what you want to see, especially now when I'm building a team, is, my team, our marketing coordinator, for example, I mean, she just blows my talent out of the water. And that's great. That's what you want, right? That you started something and maybe we're still using some of that practicality, but really it's been taken to the next level. So that's really fun. So I did love that.
Let's ask you a quick question about that, because we're always curious. This is a question we always ask our founders or executive teams. When you hire for talent, when you're seeking talent, you mentioned you were hired for your passion for farm supply, which is an amazing, what's the word I'm looking for? It's awesome to see that you can be hired on that factor alone. Well, not alone, obviously, but
right.
That was an important factor. When you hire for talent, is that the first thing you look for? Is that passion as well, more than the skills and the expertise?
Yeah, I think for me, really, I stay still very new in the CEO role, just starting my 4th year. I would say for me, it's more become a balance, of really what we're looking for. But what I really love, obviously, is just starting with a great attitude, especially in a retail environment that whatever the job is, that you're good with people. You enjoy, helping people, providing exceptional customer service. You believe in the products that we're selling. And that's from the men and women that work in our yard to honestly one of our purchasing agents here in the office. So really I think it is about work ethic, it's about attitude, it's about passion, and depending upon the job there does need to be a skill set. Farm Supply, and I think other businesses could be faced with this right now as well, we've been very, very fortunate in past years of having 20, 30, 40, in some cases 50-year employees, which is really unheard of in the job force now. But now a lot of those employees are starting to retire out. So how do we replace that? We've hired some, in recent years, some amazing people, but the challenge for us is maybe the skill set is not there in terms of growing up on a farm or a ranch or in industry where they have all of this, institutional knowledge they can impart upon our customers. So, now that's upon the company of, okay, we can hire for, passion, work ethic, and attitude, but how can we most appropriately train them? So that's really one of the challenges we're having.
Something we hear about a lot, and I don't think, I'm actually always skeptical about what I hear is, are you able to find talent locally, or are you finding that you have to go out of the area to get the talent that you're looking for?
You know, we've been actually pretty successful locally. Our HR manager works very hard to, find people that are a good fit for Farm Supply, and we're a good fit for them. I think, like any local business, I believe it's like an ebb and flow of finding good employees, right? Sometimes you might have this great pool, other times you're just really struggling for anyone. Also our challenge is we are a farmer-owned co-op, but being a retail establishment is there's not a lot of head of household jobs, and that's hard for our community, right? The cost of living is very high. We want to be here, and I would say that's probably why we don't find a lot of out of area employees, because once they talk to us and they're coming from the valley, for example, just that difference in cost of living, it doesn't make sense.
Right, right. So you were in that marketing role for 13 years. Then what came next? What came after that?
So then around 2012, both our CEO and CFO were looking towards retirement. And, talk about two people that really built Farm Supply, being a 70-year-old company, but our CFO at the time had been with Farm Supply for 40 years. And then when Jim retired in 2017, he'd been with the company for 53 years. So, the two of them, along with, we are governed by a 9-member board of directors, which is made up of agriculturalists locally along the Central Coast. We needed to look at restructuring the company. So that's how it came about with these other leadership changes. So myself and a couple other members of my team really promoted up into, I was the VP of communications, another business development, another operations. So really splitting the jobs of the two leaders before us. We had expanded to 5 locations, and it was a lot for for two people to handle. So that's when I held the communications roles for a couple of years.
Yeah. So tell us about, I don't know how many, I don't know that many people know, probably within the farming industry for sure, within the people who have that expertise, et cetera.
Yeah.
But the cooperative structure of Farm Supply, how is it set up? How does it work? I don't know that many people know that
Right.
that's how you guys are set up.
Yeah, I agree. That's a message that we try and tell as much as we can. So I appreciate you asking, because that's something I'm most passionate about. I mean, now I love inventory, I love retail, but truly for the basis of me coming to Farm Supply as a young person was because of my love for agriculture and how Farm Supply supports our local agriculture industry. So in 1950, Farm Supply was started by board of directors of San Luis Obispo County Farm Bureau. At the time, the idea with a cooperative structure is that we're going to buy products, we're going to sell them to each other within our co-op at the cost of doing business. So what they did is purchase surplus supplies post World War II and started their co-op. It was it's a 10 by 10 square foot room, really, or building down on South Higuera, not too far from our current location. At that time, one of the biggest industries within agriculture on the Central Coast was dairies. So we had quite a few dairies, which are non-existent today in our community, minus Cal Poly, still has a working dairy. So that was really the basis of Farm Supply for these board members starting the co-op. Today we have around 2,400 farmers and ranchers that are members of our co-op. So the way that works is that if you're a co-op member, that means you're telling the IRS that any percentage of your income is derived from production agriculture. You qualify for membership of the co-op. In the calendar year, once you spend $1,000 with your co-op, then you're going to get a percentage of a patronage dividend refund check back from your co-op, or back from the co-op July of every year. So that's basically, in a nutshell, the way it works.
I mean, that's incredible. Is that something you've thought about adding to the story, the messaging that basically when you shop at Farm Supply, we're supporting our local farmers and ranchers, basically, right? I mean, it stays within the community, it's shared within that community. Is that something that makes sense on the messaging side? Have you thought about that? I'm sure you
It
have.
does. Yeah, it does. You know, that's something I'm really passionate about sharing. Even our board of directors, obviously, especially one of our directors, most of you probably know Jeff Buckingham, and that's the, you know, banner that he likes to carry all the time is we don't talk about the co-op enough. And, you know, and I would agree, and people really understanding it. It's interesting. The leadership before me, they had some mixed feelings about, you know, how much we talked about the co-op and promoted it, because a lot of people in the community didn't know farm supply or think that there was anything for them or that they could shop here, right? So it's that balance. But, you know, I do think that we're in such a, what compassionate community now of late that people do want to know that they're supporting their local farmer and rancher. You know, I feel very strongly of how locally I purchase my produce, not only to support my neighbors, but because of the quality of the product.
Yeah.
So for example, last year, it's very small right now, we're hoping it will grow, but we have a farmer's market at our San Luis store every Tuesday afternoon that used to be at the Guild Hall. And that's awesome. That's something we wanted to have for a while. So how fantastic that Tuesday afternoons you can come to the San Luis store, you can shop, you can get local produce, and then even for my staff, you know, they can walk right outside and support local and take home some nutritious products.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that. That's awesome to know. We have one more day of the week where we have a local farmers market.
Yeah, yeah.
So you took on the CEO role 3 years ago. So throughout your career, or and maybe throughout your career, and then also in the last 3 years, maybe what have been for you some of the most satisfying moments from a business perspective, from running the business, from the time you evolved through your role, and also another time within the last 3 years, and how have those satisfying moments been different in those different roles?
That's a great question. You know, the first one I could think of is one, I'm really grateful for all the people that I work with, especially my coworkers that have been here 20, 30, 40 years, and I was a kid when I started here, and now I'm leading the company. That has to be challenging, right? On the other end of that, and I'm just grateful for you know, maybe not everyone's agreed with every decision I've made, and that's okay, right? That's part of being in business. But I would say a win is I have a really great team, and those that watched me grow up here have been so supportive and, you know, honest with me if, you know, they don't agree with what's happening or do agree. So I consider that a win. You know, that's ongoing. And I said from the beginning that I acknowledge that I have to gain everybody's trust again in this new role, that very quickly, and no one made me feel that way, but I could just see that, you know, I was no longer a peer, and I just needed to acknowledge that. So having a couple conversations with people that I had really strong relationships with, and really respected, you know, my role and how we're moving forward. In addition to that, probably just the change. I want to say we haven't made a lot of change in the last 3 years because of course I've been involved in it. But there has been a considerable amount of change. And I know it's been hard for our staff. Or a 70-year-old company. You've been, you know, going about your business all these years the same way. But what's interesting is even before my role, me being in this role, there was still a lot of change, but I think it's showing up different, right? You were familiar with the leaders, you know, before me and what they did and believed in how they were moving the company forward.
Mhm.
Most recently, a win really is how our company has handled this terrible pandemic we've been going through.
Those are the next questions I was going to lead into. Yeah, I'm glad
Okay.
you're going there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really incredibly proud of our team. I had no idea how important it was to be an essential business. So, I mean, that's something that's going to be burned in my brain forever. And, you know, that's a word we hadn't even really heard until March, right? I mean, we knew essential workers or first responders. And so I'm so grateful how well our team has done. And gosh, you know, my joke, not joke mid-March was, I'll talk to you in 5 minutes, because I think everyone felt this way. Things were changing so quickly, you weren't sure what to do. So we were having daily manager calls, you know, checking in with our staff all the time, because, you know, my comment is always people every day still are elevated to a different level. We're not sure how people are going to show up. But from my board, when I talked to our board of directors from day one, have been in very close communication with them the last 5 months, even more than normal. And it was always about our employees' health and safety first and foremost. And that's why I love this company. I knew that's how our board would feel. That's how I feel personally. And I think that's what's kept us all safe and healthy. And we didn't have to cut any hours. Employees have been working full time the entire time. We've put practices in play that honestly we should have already been doing as a retail establishment in terms of upping our sanitation practices, traffic flow, all of those different things. So I told someone on my leadership team when this first started, she came in and she's like, "How are you doing?" And I'm like, "This is what leaders are made for. Let's do this," and this is even in a scary situation, like this is your time to shine, and you better show up every day with a lot of confidence because your people are watching you. Have I had one or two moments during the 5 months? Yeah. But I've tried for it not to be at work. At home, I'll just be like, "What happened today?" But then you come back the next day because, people are depending on you and they're doing a really awesome job. So.
That's true. You're leading into, so showing up, that was my next question is, what are maybe the top 3 skills to be a successful leader? So one, for sure, showing up and being able to think through the most complex, issue that I think any of us have had to deal with in many, many years. But what else? What are the other skills that you feel are key and really important in that role, in your role?
Well, I think, and these are things I think always you're working on them every day, right? But I do think it's really new for me on, what are those key skills? I feel very passionate about being a servant leader. I was brought up in a family of self-proprietors, and so guess what? Everybody jumps in, and everybody has a job to do, and that's just what you're going to do. So I do feel strongly about servant leadership in that don't ever ask your people to do anything that you're not going to do yourself or that you haven't done yourself, and roll your sleeves up and get right next to them and do that work. Now that has, on the flip side, that has been an interesting shift for me because even my leadership team has pointed out to me that, hey, some of those things you shouldn't be doing anymore. Like really, you need to delegate that, or there's people that can do it a lot better than you. And so I think there is that balance of, servant leadership, but then also, and I've gotten some good coaching on this as well. And I think this is an area for me to grow in that at the end of the day, there's just some decisions that I have to make, right? I want to be participatory. I want to ask people their opinion. I know I'm never the smartest person in the room, which is awesome because I'm going to surround myself around smarter people and then help formulate that decision. I also think in this role that people need to know that you're passionate and believe in what we're doing, and that has to come naturally. Because if you're not, then you're just not in the right role. And I love coming to work every day, even some of the challenging days I've had over the last 24 years, not even just in the last 3. I have never, ever had a day where I've gotten up and thought, oh my gosh, I have to go to work today. So I feel very lucky.
No, it is a very, very lucky position to be in. I feel the same way about my job, but no, it's true. Yeah. It's so lucky to be able to get up every day and say, no, I'm excited about my day. Yeah. So we have a great question in Q&A, which was something else I wanted to talk about. Have you noticed changes in buying behavior or product sales since COVID? So that's an interesting question. What have you noticed over the last 6 months?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's something we're talking about continually, and it's definitely 2-part for farm supply. So one, when the shelter in place happened mid-March, we were still coming to work. We weren't sure what that was going to look like, but luckily, because we support the agriculture industry with products that they need to, grow food and products for the world, we were able to stay open. And then even on the level of us having pet food and supplies, that also, made us essential. So what happened is, the stores are slower for a while. People weren't sure what was going on. They didn't want to go out. But once I think people got a little antsy and tired of being at home, we really did start seeing more of this influx of customers. And since this happened in spring, it was really about growing your own, going back to basics, being at home, growing these phenomenal gardens, which I loved. Baby chicks, we have chicks in the spring. And so our this chick mania was just out of control this year. We actually had to shut it down the first couple of weeks of March because we had no idea what social distancing was. And people were literally losing their minds over buying baby chicks. It was really interesting and exciting that they were that excited about it. But we wanted to make sure everybody was safe. So we came up with a plan and started selling baby chicks the next couple of months. And, you know, my joke kind of was people new to having chicks, and I love that happening, is I hope they don't think they're going to get eggs in the next couple days, because this is a longer process, you know, and truly, you know, probably more costly than just buying those eggs at the store, but so much more rewarding in
Oh, yeah.
fresh product. You know, it's in your backyard. So what was interesting is we were selling out of products. You know, our purchasing department does an amazing job of watching trending, communicating with the stores, what levels do we have to have. But this was something we had never been faced with before. So our shelves are empty, like other, you know, businesses we were all going into, our local grocery store, whatever it might be. So not only was, you know, there really an increase in the products we were selling, then our manufacturing was having a lot of challenges themselves. So now we're not getting product. If it's live goods in the sense of, you know, vegetables, flowers, so on and so forth, well, they can only grow so much. We had no idea this was coming. So of course we're going to have shortages that way. Other manufacturing, let's say, heaven forbid, our feed manufacturer, for example, they have a COVID case at their plant, right? So now let's say they're going to have to shut processing down because they have to take care of their staff. So there was definitely this chain reaction that was happening. Then potentially the trucking companies, there would be an issue there. So what would happen is our purchasing department would place these orders, and maybe only, you know, a third to a half of the order would show up. Our purchasing department's doing an amazing job of weekly updating all of our staff on what are our shortages this week. You know, what will be coming, what will not be coming. And, you know, we do feel that we're going to have the ripple effects for a while.
Has it impacted the way you do business from a strategic perspective? What has changed from a strategy perspective in running the business in dealing with these unknowns?
Yeah, you know, honestly, I think communication, right, is the name of the game every day of the week, because there has been so many unknowns for us. Again, my team's just done a phenomenal job of educating themselves, talking with other maybe local businesses, or businesses in our industry, I should say. What are they doing? Is there any opportunity to work with another vendor right now, you know, that might have some of that product that we wouldn't typically buy from, but we really want to get the product to our customer? So yeah, I would definitely say, you know, are we going, example, fencing has been very hard to get. There's quite a bit of lead time on fencing as it is, but we have orders placed that go all the way back to June that we're still waiting on. So that just kind of gives you an idea of how backlogged we are. Again, they're manufacturing as quickly as they can, but the demand has increased so much in some cases that, yeah, it's been a challenge. So every day we're finding out something new.
Yeah. So I'm going through a few more of the questions in the Q&A. So what are the policies in connection with your employees that you've had to put in place due to COVID? And is there anything that was specifically unique to your business, your industry, that you had to implement and maybe even create from scratch?
Well, I think, you know, the first one everyone has been faced with is wearing masks, right? That was really challenging at the beginning. And my team, we were educating ourselves on the right thing to do. And there was a lot of, in my opinion, mixed messages out there about, you know, wearing masks. And a lot of our people were really struggling with it, just how they were feeling about having to wear them. And even in terms of just, you know, breathing and restriction, however they felt. But it obviously came to a point where Farm Supply is always going to do the right thing. And with, you know, what we were learning, we all needed to start wearing masks. It was the right thing to do. It was the safest thing to do. So I would say that was the biggest one. And then with that, we get into summer, where two of our stores, specifically Paso and Buellton, get some very extreme heat. Maybe not what we all saw last Saturday, but it gets very, very hot. So we have, we have men and women working out in our yards in 100-degree heat. We're asking them to wear a mask. It's tough, right? So it's the ebb and flow of that. So I would say the mask wearing, also just communicating all the time of, how's everybody feeling? Are you showing up healthy? That even is so interesting how the dialogue changed, right? Which I think a lot of businesses can relate to that. So really the communication shifted, even the importance again of the sanitation, and what sanitation practices we had in play, even how we had to modify how we were meeting within the walls of this company. With our company, we still have had all of our people working in offices, but we have made some modifications for safety in terms of, plexiglass, guards or whatnot. But we're even wearing masks in our offices. As soon as we leave our office, we're, putting masks on. So, also dialogues about travel. There's all these interesting things that have come up of people coming back. And, we really didn't see any travel the first, 3-4 months, I would almost say, but then people are exhausted, right? They just want to go somewhere. And that's not for us to, control as a company. We want people also to be feeling mentally well, in a really stressful time like this. So again, our HR manager has done a phenomenal job with a group she associates with of, what does that look like for every business in handling those situations? So for example, last weekend with Labor Day, our HR manager put a great letter out, just reminding everyone, not dictating that this is our travel policy, but just reminding everyone that it's about you staying safe as an employee, for your family, but also for your coworkers and our customers that are coming through the store. And here's some things to think about if you are out and about, over the weekend. So we've really tried to do things like that. I also find,
there's kind of like that added duty of care towards your customers, right? In these times, something that I hadn't completely thought about, but it's that added responsibility.
Yep.
And yeah.
And it's really interesting. I will just say Farm Supply has the best customers ever. So I will go to bat with anyone any day of the week. We just have really phenomenal customers. And for me, it's the relationships I've been able to build over the last 24 years of, people not having kids yet. Now the kids are, out of college and married, and just that whole evolution is amazing. Within that customer base, we have customers from very extreme ends of the equation in terms of their thoughts on COVID, agriculture, community, whatever it might be. So it's very interesting, even messages I've gotten in the mask wearing or not, and people's opinions about that. So we're trying to be really sensitive to that. I think the other thing I'll bring up right now that I don't think we'll know the true effects of this until possibly a year or two down the road, but it's interesting to me that all of us are doing the best we can, right? We're doing the best we can with a situation that none of us has ever experienced. And, now we're hearing things like, and this applies to, people listening today with businesses, that, there could be some worker comp cases as a result of COVID, or other, labor issues. And I thought, gosh, it's so unfortunate because we're all doing the best we can with such limited knowledge.
Right. No, that's a really good point. So, I mean, in the long term, how has COVID, again, from a purely business perspective of running this business, has it affected any long-term plans? Have you had to change goals? For example, if you're planning any type of expansion, has that been put on hold? How has it affected you as a leader in running this business, and as far as long-term goals that you have?
Right. So, Farm Supplies, Judy's really excited to be working with with you guys, with SBDC, because we had just formalized a strategic plan. And I think that's one great example that we had contracted with a great company locally back in the fall to go through the strategic plan process. It had been way too many years since we had done that. So we were, full speed ahead on this strategic plan process, and then almost ready, getting towards the end to wrap it up, I would say, in March was the plan, and then COVID hit. So that was something we had to put on hold, because at that point, again, it really came back to the safety and health of our people, and our customers, and how Farm Supply was, I think pivot is my favorite term since this whole COVID pandemic. That's what everyone's using, but it is true. It's really about
is for startups. You know, startups talk about pivoting all the time.
Yeah, it's like my favorite term in these meetings. So I was like, everybody's pivoting. But it is true. I mean, really, that is an appropriate term, because it was like, okay, we have to focus what's going on right now. So, for example, we did put the strategic plan on hold. Luckily, we did pick it back up, starting in end of May, I want to say now. So that has been finalized. We have had the stamp of approval by our board. So we're starting to work that plan. However, it did put some of our deadlines out farther that we were really hoping to accomplish. During that time, 2 members of our leadership team, who were a huge part of this plan, ended up leaving, really had some amazing opportunities or different family reasons. So, you know, happy for them and, you know, the choices that they made, but it did make it a little more challenging, you know, of how this plan is going to unfold. But we're in a great spot now. We're putting a lot of time and attention to that. The other thing that would be on hold is talk about our seasoned employees. We have our pump department manager. Farm Supply has a pump and well service department where we go out to customers that don't have city, county, municipal water. They have their own pump and wells. So that manager is retiring after, almost 40 years. And then one of our store managers, who's been with the company for 43 years, is retiring. So those are 2, that's a lot of institutional knowledge leaving Farm Supply at the end of the year. They had both planned on retiring mid-November, but with what had been happening last couple months, they both decided to stay till end of year, which honestly is great for Farm Supply as well, because COVID did kind of, you know, put on hold some of the plans we had for moving forward for those positions. So again, we're making a real effort to focus back on that. So.
Great. Yeah, it's flexibility, right? Adapting to what's coming your way.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is probably a tough time to completely wrap your head around the next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway just to see. But how do you measure success for yourself and for your company? And I'm guessing that measure of success may be different today than it was maybe 6 months ago. But how do you measure that?
Well, you know, in my opinion, I think it's a couple different ways. Obviously, you're looking at the bottom line, right? You're looking at the profits of the company, and what that looks like. So that's very black and white. That doesn't lie, right? Who's coming into the store? But I also think it is about reputation, how people feel about Farm Supply out in the community, and the contribution that we're making. You know, operating on the Central Coast. It's also about our staff, and that they're passionate and that they think they have a purpose working at Farm Supply, that they really feel that they have ownership over what's going on, and you know, want to be a part of what we're doing.
Yeah. How many employees do you have at Farm Supply?
We have around 110 employees.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, and that's spread across 5 locations: Paso, San Luis, Rio Grande, Santa Maria, and Buellton. And then we have the 2, you know, pump and well departments that are based out of San Luis and Paso Robles.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I just want to remind everyone who's online right now that there is a Q&A feature. So if you have any questions that you want to ask Cara, feel free to post a question in the Q&A box. So, Cara, I mean, how do you see your long-term, what are your long-term goals, your personal long-term goals? Yeah, is it, I mean, if it's okay to ask you that, I know that's a big question, but.
Yeah, you know, I don't know at this point, honestly. I think it could go either way. You know, I could see myself retiring at Farm Supply, you know, honestly, which I think is very interesting and unique for the workforce, like this day and age, that I would put in, you know, 40 years or whatever it might be in one place. But this is a really special place, and I get to, you know, live where I grew up and be a part of this great community. You know, on the other hand, I feel so grateful for this opportunity and the learning curve that, you know, I don't know who's to say 10, 15 years down the road, I have so much more work I still want to do here. So this is where I want to be 100%. But I had even told our board this in my interview, so this is no secret, that I feel strongly that when I've given Farm Supply everything that I can. I think as a truly successful leader, that someone's really connected with who they are and what their contribution is, that when you've given the company everything that you can, it's time to move on. It's time for someone else to take over and bring their greatness and bring their attitude to the company and make it that much better, right? And also on the flip side, I think, as a leader, you have to think about yourself too, and what's really driving you and what you're passionate about and what, your goals are. That if the company or the organization or whatever it might be, when they've given you everything that they can, I think that's a really, a fine line of where that's at. But my thing is right now, I just, again, just have so much gratitude for Farm Supply and the opportunity and the job we're doing. And we have a lot of challenges coming our way. There's always challenges, but especially with retail and e-commerce and, all of these things going on that are facing Farm Supply and other retailers, that it's a fun time. It's really a fun time. It's an exciting time, and it's challenging.
And actually, you bring up a good topic. So you are, a bricks and mortar business. What does your marketplace, your online marketplace, look like? What are your expectations with that? Is that something you want to continue growing? Is there a strategy around that? How long has it been live? Let's talk about from a more distribution channel perspective. Is that with COVID, did it trigger the thought or the need to focus more on these other distribution channels and to grow those as a way to safeguard, against these drastic events such as COVID? How do you, what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, so one, Farm Supply currently has no online presence. Well, we do not have e-commerce. Our only online presence, we have a beautiful website, but honestly, it's just an online brochure. That's all that it is, which is really frustrating for the consumer, especially in 2020 when there's been so much great technology around e-commerce. So that is something we're seriously looking at through our strategic plan. Actually, a couple of your teammates with the SBDC are helping us through that. They were on a call with us a couple of weeks ago with our software company and just kind of looking into the integration of e-commerce with our system and how that would work. So our team very much acknowledges that on some level, that truly is the road that we need to go down. Now, to start, does that mean it's a buy online, pick up in store? Does that mean it's a ship to home? When we looked at it very seriously about a year ago with one of our distributors, they had a platform as well. And so we really did our due diligence to look at it, see if it was a fit for Farm Supply. It was really too new at that point. And I don't need to tell you, the cost associated with it was astronomical, right? And I feel strongly that if and when we get into e-commerce, is truly, it almost needs to run as a sixth branch for Farm Supply. You can't be pulling it out of your current stores and, oh, Judy's not busy right now, she can go grab the ticket and pack it and ship it. So yeah, that's definitely something that we'll start working a lot more on come 2021. We're working on the pump department analysis right now in that transition, but no, that's on our radar.
So it was part of your strategic plan. Is COVID putting you in a position to accelerate the need to develop that side of the business?
I think definitely, right? I mean, that's what we've all seen as consumers. I mean, even the curbside pickup, we haven't promoted that out to the community just because we knew we didn't have like the resources or the appropriate plan to make that happen. But of course, anytime anybody calls or comes in, we will definitely, let you buy your purchase over the phone, or if you have a charge account with us, and we will take it out for you. So I think that all rolls into how important e-commerce is, right? I mean, there's such a huge part of the population that doesn't want to leave their home. And I like to support local business as much as I can. I'm a very tangible, tactile person that wants to go touch and feel everything before I buy it. And I can't do that on my computer screen. But you can't deny, even on the Central Coast, that Amazon's at your front door in 2 days.
Yeah.
I mean, it's phenomenal, right? So yeah, that's where we're at with that.
Yeah. So back to the company culture, we have a question in the Q&A. Have you developed any specific metrics or processes to help direct that company culture that is such a core part of farm supply?
Right. That's a great question. As a part of our strategic plan, we did an employee survey. And
Mm.
that's something that also we were long overdue for. So it's great as we will do that annually now, and be able to have that ongoing analysis of what our people are really thinking. I love farm supplies culture. Obviously, that's why I am here, have been here all these years. And it's very much wrapped around kind of that family vibe, but I guess I should say depending on how your family gets along. but it's a very supportive environment. You have great relations with your coworkers. Sometimes that's outside of the walls of the company. And so I feel very strongly about the culture that was established at Farm Supply. However, something that's really resonated with me lately, I forget where I was in some seminar, and what they said is that when there's new leadership, the culture always changes. The culture changes, but the values should stay the same. And that really spoke to me. I actually really liked that. When I thought about what Farm Supply's core values are, when I thought about what the Farm Bureau's board of directors intent was in 1950 to open this
So I
co-op.
would ask, what are those values, and when were they defined? Like, are they still relevant to today?
Completely. Yeah. As a matter of fact, the board and leadership before us went through a I would say the last, which was way too many years ago, but a formal strategic plan back in '01. And they really spent some time and did some great work on, at that time, they called it the business rules, right? So I abide by rules, but I don't love that term in 2020, right? And so now you're seeing more. So we updated them, gosh, about 2 years ago. So now they're called core values, which is very common for business. And truly, all we did was modernize the language from the business rules to the core values. They stayed the same because they truly do stand the test of time. The value we did add, and I did mention earlier, that we did add was about we change with you. And
Mm.
although historically our people would say, too much change is happening, farm supply never changes. Well, it's really not true, because if you look at the evolution of farm supply, if we were still servicing local dairies, we would not be in existence right now, right? We would be out of business. But the leaders before us and our board have truly been really progressive in changing with the community around us. At the basis, we're a co-op. We're about supporting our local farmer and rancher. But for us to keep our doors open, we need to invite the rest of the community in. We need to be a retail space. So we did add the we change with you, because I do feel like we've been, we've stuck to who we are, but we have been adaptable. So they definitely apply. It's about us, a value of, conducting ourselves with, dignity, courtesy, respect. We will go above and beyond, to help the customer, the member, the community. We're deeply rooted in the community. That's one that I feel strongly about, that we will give back and serve the community that we're so lucky to be a part of. So no, they really are timeless. I don't see, in the future that there would be a change to those.
Yeah. So in the giving back piece, how are you integrating the community and in giving back, and what are the ventures that you're part of in that regard?
So we, first and foremost, we want to help a lot of different causes. There's so many great causes in our community, but we try and do stay focused on helping causes in agriculture, primarily youth in ag. We feel very passionate about if we can get young people, if we can support them in agriculture, education, just providing a positive experience. That benefits all, right? So a good plug, Judy, for my 4-H mug that I'm drinking out of today. I'm lucky to work for a company that loves supporting organizations that truly got me to the place that I am in my current life today. And that means me being a part of a 4-H at the young age of 9, when I wasn't a chatty kid, and then started doing presentation days, and now you can't get me to shut up. So, that's something we're passionate about helping. Also the FFA programs, which again is another phenomenal ag education program that's affiliated with our high schools, a national organization. We also like to partner with our vendors. So for example, Kellogg's Garden Products, they're amazing about supporting school gardens. So we also like to give back to school gardens and, give these kids the opportunity to watch things grow and, be a part of something fantastic like that. So primarily causes in ag. We like to, educate the community about ag. We do a lot of free educational events in the spring, primarily at our San Luis store, from, pruning to backyard gardening, to canning, so on and so forth. And then the fairs, we typically have a big presence at the Mid-State and Santa Barbara County fairs, where we support the kids showing animals.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you. I mean, thank you so much for supporting all those local events that are so key to our community. Absolutely. I had 2 kids in 4-H myself, so I'm very thankful.
Yep.
So I'm opening it up again. There's a Q&A box. If anyone has any questions, feel free to post a question. Any other parting words of wisdom, Cara? How are you doing? Like, how are you feeling about what we've been experiencing over the last 6 months, and where are you at?
I think everybody has their days, right? Of, I'm very much a person that's like, okay, I mean, I stress and worry about things, but since I've come into this role, it's like, I just need to wake up every day and see what comes in the day, right? I think the family I grew up in, I want to take care of people and be that care provider. So I think the last 5 months, as long as everybody else is okay, then I'm okay, right? And, I can just show up with a good attitude and make sure my people are feeling safe and happy. And not that I've, killed it every day doing that, but, for the most part, I think our team, we've done a great job. When this first started and there was so many unknowns, I remember just really yelling at my parents, which is incredibly disrespectful because I don't think they were taking this situation seriously. And, they're in that at-risk category. And I finally told them one day, I was like, I will be fine as long as you take care of yourself, right? If you take care of yourself, then I can focus on the job that I need to do. So I'm in a better spot personally because more time has gone on, right? I don't do well with a lot of unknowns. I like to at least have done it once or know what's coming. I think that's the scheduling, controlling side of me. And so I feel like we're just in a groove. My message to our team all the time is this is a marathon, not a sprint. And honestly, it's ironic now that I think I'm not the only one that felt this way. When this started in March, genuinely, I was like, oh, June, we'll be back to normal. I'm blown away that here we are, right? And who knows what's going to happen in fall and some of the things that they have predicted. I keep saying that I'm excited for our new level of normal in 2025, and everyone's like, quit saying that. But my thing is that I like to set goals that far out, and then if it happens earlier, I'm like, that was awesome.
Pleasantly surprised. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so surprised. Yeah. But because, so that's what I have to do for myself. Because when this started in March, I was like, I can do this till June. Heels in, let's do this. And again, just so proud of my team and how well we have done. But my point to 2025 is we all know that the ripple effects of this is going to be so long lasting. And what has bothered me, actually, back to your question, here's the somber moments I've had in the last 5 months. I've had so much gratitude for being in the central business and everyone around me being healthy and safe. So I never, ever take that for granted. What's breaking my heart is all of our neighbors that are closing their doors and can't open their businesses back up. It just makes me emotional. Or who lost their jobs, and it's just devastating. And what that's doing to even our community, if we want to keep it local, what the long-term effects of that are of the Central Coast. So I think that's been challenging. And I know I can't affect a lot of change with that, except support those local businesses, spread the word about, the work that they're doing and, keep their people employed. But I do think, we're a couple years out and it's never going to go back to how it was. I think that's just the fact. So yeah.
It is. It's not a temporary thing. So that's something I try to share daily. It's like, let's adapt now, because this is what we have to deal with now, and we have no idea what it's going to look like 6 months, 12 months, 4 years from now. Yeah. So, okay. So what do you do? I have to ask you one personal question. How do you de-stress? So what are your, you know, you have huge responsibilities. It has been a harrowing 6 months. What do you do to de-stress, come back down, and get back to ground zero?
Yeah, it's interesting because I obviously am a very extroverted person, but I do realize in this role that it's much more serious, and I do realize I have some introvert qualities the last couple years of truly just like wanting to go home, be on my own, you know, not be on my phone, just kind of relax, right? I also think this is actually, I need to quit saying this has been a blessing of COVID because that doesn't sound good, but what has been interesting with COVID, and I think we can all relate to this, is when this started in March, my calendar just went blank. You know, where I might have, you know, 3 meetings in a certain day and then something to do after work, it was gone, right? I mean, it was just, it completely went blank. I was like, this is crazy. Like, I, you know, kind of didn't know what to do. Well, now I've totally embraced it. I didn't know that some people just like work 8 hours and then go home and enjoy their home for like 4 or 5 hours before they go to bed. I'm like, that's crazy. And so that's actually been great. You know, I live close to the beach in Morro Bay. My dog and I like to go, you know, walk by the beach. So it's a simpler life. And honestly, I've appreciated it than what we kind of, I feel things ramping back up a little, you know, and we're still doing a lot of Zoom meetings or whatnot. But I don't need to go to that level. I can still get my job done and not over schedule. So that actually has been good. I also like to, I get very rejuvenated, like being around my loved ones. So when I know that I'm stressed out, like I just need to go spend time with my family. I have a nephew who's the greatest kid in the whole entire world. And so, you know, things like that help, or being around my friends. I'm just lucky I have a really great support system. So that's what, you know, rejuvenates me. And I think that, you know, a strong leader needs to have very strong professional and personal balance, you know, a work-life balance. And so I think that plays into it.
So it's funny, of all things, right? It took COVID to make us reconnect with that work-life balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I try and do. So I'm lucky. And I mean, we live here, right? There's so many things to be grateful for living on the Central Coast, or that you can take advantage of. I do miss the personal connection though. You know, I grew up in a family where a handshake means everything and your word is good. And I keep joking, not joking, like, are we never going to shake hands again? And that's really tough for me. Like I'm very much about that connection and people getting together on a face-to-face, you know, level. But I got it. Zoom's awesome. I mean, it's really amazing, you know, these tools that we have, but it wouldn't be nice to see people in person.
Yeah. That social side of paying people over for dinner and connecting at that level is hard. Not having that, it is a challenge. But we compensate, right?
Yeah.
I know I have a meeting with the president of the Morro Bay Chamber of Commerce on Thursday. We decided to go for a walk. We're like, well, let's, you know, we'll wear a mask, we'll talk, let's just go for a walk, and let's, you know, let's be creative and do it differently.
Yeah.
Well, Cara, thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, I can't tell you how much we appreciate your time. Thanks for sharing your experience. Thanks for your optimism, your motivation, and very inspiring for all of us. It's just wonderful to have you here with us this morning. So thanks again. Really, really.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you asking me. I just so impressed with your organization, all the great work you guys do. I just feel honored that you wanted to talk to me for an hour. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I don't know if Olivia might have a slide to share just as we wrap up, just to share with our audience what's coming up. So we are launching, every year we create a fund. We invite new investors who are new to startup investing to be part of a program that they can participate with us in. We meet once a month. Each investor invests $6,000 into a fund with the opportunity to then invest the full $100,000 into one startup here on the Central Coast. So this is an event we run every year, and we're launching Fund 4 right now as we speak. We have an info session on September 18th at 9 a.m. So actually, if anyone is interested in participating, you do have to be an accredited investor. Please feel free to email us at slosbdc@gmail.com. we'll send you an invitation for the September 18th event. It's very fun, great network of people. Feel free to ask us for more information. I'll gladly talk with you. And that's pretty much it for now from us. Thank you, Cara. Great to have you. Our next Coffee and Conversation is in October, second Wednesday of October. And we'll have Trent, who is actually, he was the winner of Fund 3. He won the investment from Fund 3. And he'll be giving us an update on how he's doing and what's going on with his startup. So Cara, thanks again. Have a wonderful day. And see you soon. Take care.
Okay, thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye.